If you're like many of the people I know, you're somewhere between exhausted, despondent, exasperated, and pretty hopeless when it comes to the state of polarization in American politics today. If you can't imagine another matchup between Biden and Trump, or you're considering crawling under a table or moving to Canada because of the state of our politics, then this video is for you. Because in this video, I will share why I believe polarization not only can, but must be reversed. And I'll share 3 practical tips for what you can do to help. So, first reason why this can be turned around is because as bad as polarization is in our country today, if we look at our nation's history, we know that there have been times when the nation has been at least this bleak, but we've actually come together and we've come through it. So there are examples in our history of times of extreme political polarization. So if you look at the early days of the Republic, the kind of polarization that existed between Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson was really extreme. There were high levels of bitterness, lots of polarization. In fact, George Washington really advised us to avoid political parties because of this. And yet, despite that, right, those founding fathers helped us through and actually helped us establish some of the bulwarks that are at the core of our democracy today. Second, we have to believe that we can get through this period of polarization, frankly, because the alternative is not acceptable. And I want to be clear here, right? I think belief is an important part of working through polarization. Why is that the case? Well, it has been shown that the only reason why we do anything, the only reason why you, let's say, take vitamins, the only reason why you say exercise or eat healthy or go to church or go to synagogue or go to a mosque or get a college education is based on the belief that if you do those things, there will be some good result, right? If I believe that exercise will make me healthier, then I do it. If I believe that education will get me a better job, then I do it. If we don't believe those things, we're less likely to actually move forward. And so with respect to polarization, if we think there's nothing we can do, then we give up, then we'll do nothing. But if we believe it can be done, it increases the likelihood that we can get through it. And the reason why we have to do this is that the alternative is really bad. Because if we cannot address issues of polarization, we will see increasing tension in the United States. We will see more incidents of violence in the United States. We'll see a breakdown of our democracy in the United States. And so the reason why we have to believe it is because the alternative really will mean the slow, or maybe not so slow, end of this experiment of American democracy. So third, what can you do about this? I think there's lots that we can do on an individual level. First, there are all sorts of organizations, both at the local level and often at the national level, that are working hard to address issues of polarization. So at the national level, there are things like the National Institute for Civil Discourse. At the local level, there are often programs like Living Room Conversations or Braver Angels, organizations that try to create opportunities for people to both do civic work to bridge polarization, but also engage in those conversations along lines of difference. Second, right, you can really promote anti-polarization work yourself and support peers who have a commitment to doing work across lines of difference. So for my own part, I'm involved in an organization called Seeds of Peace. Seeds of Peace is an organization that traditionally has done peace-building work in the Israeli-Palestinian context and also in the context of Southeast Asia and India, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. But over the past few years, in response to increasing issues of polarization, division, and real isolation around differences in the US context, Seeds of Peace has now created youth programs that bring together young high school students who are aspiring to be leaders, but who are courageous enough to have dialogue across these lines of difference. And when I say lines of difference, I mean not just politics, but certainly politics, racial divides, divides around gender identity and sexual orientation, divides around religious difference and socioeconomic class. All the kinds of conversations that in many contexts are being avoided or that are being played out in unproductive ways, Seeds of Peace tries to help people have these conversations in productive ways. And what the idea is we're also creating young leaders who can really sit with those differences, sit in the discomfort, and we need more of that. The other thing you could do is spend some time educating yourself about the kinds of psychological biases that can often cause us to believe that we are right about an issue and that the people on the other side are bad intentioned, wrong, stupid, silly, illogical. There is a huge set of research around psychological biases and heuristics. So the kind of research where, because of overconfidence and self-serving biases, we tend to overassume that we're right and that the other side is wrong, not because we're bad people, not because we're being strategic, but because as human beings, we tend to notice things that confirm our own viewpoints and tend to downplay things that suggest we might be wrong. So the more we can educate ourselves about these biases, it doesn't mean we're not going to have them, because the research shows even people who know about self-serving and overconfidence biases display those self-serving and overconfidence biases. But we also know that there is a debiasing effect just by learning about their existence. Next, try to do what you can to educate others in your own ambit. Maybe it's family members or friends or colleagues about how they can see things differently, and work to develop relationships with those people. Lastly, do what you can to educate yourself about the dangers and costs of polarization. Polarization is not this inevitable thing. It is not a law of physics or a law of chemistry. It is a direct result of individual choices. So individual choices, for example, to support the candidate who fuels the fire of polarization, or to support a candidate who tries to work across partisan lines. Individual choices to either villainize and dehumanize and demonize people with whom we have deep differences, or an individual choice to try to create a connection, to try to listen, to try to perspective take. What you do in this matters, and it matters not just for you, but it matters for the future of our community, the future of our nation. I hope you'll do what you can to reverse polarization, and I hope you'll do what you can to keep learning more about negotiation and conflict resolution. So if you want to continue that process of educating yourself, watch the next video, which is how does political polarization lead to gridlock in Congress? And don't forget to like, ring the bell, and please subscribe to my channel. I'm Bob Bordone, and thanks for negotiating. Okay, you want to keep on watching this next video?